Are your doubles doing this as you get faster? Instead of what we want, which is where we can actually hear everything going on and they're actually loud and strong. If your doubles get softer and sloppier as you go faster, and more specifically your 16th doubles completely choke out into oblivion at 120, where either you end up with a buzz roll or that sloppy galloping where nothing is smooth, which leaves you really frustrated with the obvious lack of technical prowess, then today's lesson is for you. You can fix this. Let me help you get there. There's a reason why so many drummers' doubles fall apart at 120. And we're going to target that weak spot today so that your doubles are strong, clean, even, and actually applying to the drum set for faster timekeeping and more intricate playing. I'll explain what all that means. The secret lies in making sure that you're doing this one thing before working in the fingers. Many of us know that fingers are a secret, but there's something you got to do before that to really make this work, and I'll show you how today. You can do this. Let's dive in. Hey, welcome to the Non-Glamorous Drummer. I'm so glad you're hanging out today. I help self-taught beginner drummers know what to practice so that they can nail songs and become the drummer other people want to have in their band. And hey, we're talking about doubles, and the cool thing about this, you can practice everything we're doing today on a practice pad. And if you are a drummer who is having to spend more time on the pad than the drum set for noise constraints, whatever, or it's just more convenient, I get it. I lived in an apartment for a long time and had to do the same thing. I want to help you grow as much as you possibly can, even just on the pad. So I have a free PDF guide for you in the description. It's called 3 Daily Pad Exercises for Fast Fluid Hands. If there were just 3 things you could practice every day for faster fluid hands that you can then apply to the full drum set, these are the 3. So solve your weak hand, build fast fluid chops you can actually apply to the kit with 3 daily pad exercises. Go grab the free e-guide for the 30-minute practice routine. You'll have a lot of fun with this. It's so simple and you'll grow a ton even just on your pad. Go grab that in the description. Let's dive into today's lesson. As a beginner, I quickly figured out how to do this. Or even with fingers sticking out. Maybe you've been there. Maybe as a kid you figured that out. I had a teacher who called this the middle school roll, where you just stick all your fingers out and you go. And then you stick your elbows out and go like that. So in that sense, doubles are not difficult to play. Anybody can just play doubles. But the problem is with that, they are not clean, precise, articulate. They kind of get lost into a buzz. But really the deeper problem is that they only happen at one tempo. I remember when I was figuring this out, I realized, I can play these fast doubles. And it was like, okay, well, what about playing them more slowly? Okay. Nope, that doesn't work. What about playing them louder? No, that doesn't work and it hurts my fingers too much. And so you run into all these problems, all these issues, and these kinds of doubles are completely useless. And so we know we need to make them clean, articulate, loud, strong. That way we can actually use them on the drum set because we can control the tempo and it allows us to play all sorts of other cool stuff. And we even might know that fingers are the key because we see all the YouTube lesson titles, we see all the thumbnails talking about how fingers are the secret and the push-pull and all that stuff. But we still have trouble actually using the fingers. That really is the biggest issue, and I know it was for me. Figuring out how do I actually make these even, because I know my fingers should be working, but they're just not. And that's where this one piece of the puzzle that's kind of missing really comes in. Yes, fingers are the key, but there's a secret that we've got to employ in order to use the fingers well, in order to then play whatever cool stuff we want to on the drum set involving doubles stickings. So here's the reason why your doubles are choking out, most likely. I haven't seen you play personally, but based on watching my students, based on my own history with bad doubles, this is my guess. The reason your doubles are choking out, you're not giving your fingers enough stick height to work with. So we're going to break this down in 3 steps. I want you to think about this. If, let's say we want to use fingers, but we have a really low stick height. You can kind of use your fingers, or you can kind of do that. But obviously, the more stick motion we have within our hand, the more we're actually able to do something with our fingers, right? If it's a really tiny stick height, and you're sitting here trying to go like this, it doesn't work. But suddenly, if you allow a bigger stick height, now you actually have room because your stick is moving more. Your fingers have all this power to snap the stick down. So suddenly you can start going. then you can really start doing a lot. So let's break this down a little. What we want to do first is the big time neglected step with doubles, and it's this. Practice slow rebound driven 16th doubles on a practice pad or your snare at 60 beats per minute and slower. So I'm going to get a metronome going in my ears at 60 beats a minute. That is right here. These are the eighth notes at least. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and so 16th notes put us right here. 3 and 4 and. This is where I would challenge you. If you're having trouble with doubles at any tempo, the first thing I will ask a student I'm working with is, can you play really slow rebound-driven doubles? That means you're not going gung, 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 gung. You're not doing the middle school drum line. Gung, 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 gung. No, those are singles. We're actually doing true doubles where we're doing a stroke and we're letting it bounce. Purely rebound. Can you do that as 16ths at 60? It's okay to do it just one hand at a time and just practice going. You're watching your hand, you're making sure that you're using, you're just dropping the stick down, but doing nothing. No effort for the second note. Otherwise, this doesn't work. No effort for the second note. Then we're just catching it there after that second note. Same thing with right hand. So practice doing that. Go as slow and meticulously as you need to. Then as soon as you can start alternating again, turn your metronome back on to 60 beats a minute, which is right here. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. And it is okay if that is not 100% precise, because you're just using rebound. You want to get it as close as you can. But know that functionally, this is not something we're actually going to do when we're playing on the drums. This is a practice to teach us to use stick height and teach us to use rebound and teach us the feeling of actually getting 2 notes for the price of 1. So many drummers skip this, and so you never actually experience what is it actually like to get 2 notes for the price of 1 and be in control of when that second note happens. That's what's cool about it. The second note can be free, but you've got to be able to control where it is. And so it all starts with this slow playing. Now what will happen as you get faster, we're kind of breezing through this. There's a lot of little details we can talk about, but we only have time to get up to 120 where we want to go. What you'll find as you get faster, here's what happens. It either falls apart and gets sloppy, or you have to start intervening in some way. Either you get really soft and go. And as you get softer, it naturally gets faster. Just like if you're dribbling a basketball, as you start dribbling lower to the ground, it's naturally going to start dribbling faster compared to if you're dribbling up at head height. Same thing's going to happen here. Or if we want to keep our volume the same, we have to start intervening by adding more energy into the mix and go like this. What am I doing here? I'm cheating and I'm using my wrist and I'm actually going right, right, left, left, right, right. That one is no longer for free if I'm going to be loud. But here's why we do this. Here's why we want to cheat and bring in the wrist as we get close to 16ths at 100. Because if we don't do that, we have no way to actually get into loud doubles at 120. If we want to play loudly and we want to get from loud and slow to loud and fast, we have to bridge that gap with wrists. But that's not even the main part of what we're talking about today. We're talking about using the fingers. So what we want to do, as we're pushing up close to 120, I'm going to get my metronome going again. Here's what is happening at 100. So 100 is right here. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's what we need to be doing at 100, where we're using our wrist, we're using a little bit of arm initially, and we're using wrist to reinforce the second note. Reinforce, I think, is a good word for this because there's still rebound going on. That second note is still going to happen at some point, but we're using our wrist to reinforce and strengthen that second note. And so we're going. You could think of it as arm wrist, arm wrist. And that little bit of arm helps keep this fluid. If we were just going wrist, wrist, this would get really stiff. If we went. it can easily get stiff. Allow a little bit of arm so that your arm motion is kind of like a right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left. But your wrists are going wrist, 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 you know, so on. Right, right, left, left, right, right, left, left. We're using some arm to cushion it, and we're using wrist to reinforce. Here's 100 again. And 1, 2, ready, go. And as we start getting faster, here's 110. And 1, 2, 3, 4. $120. 1, 2, 1, 2, ready, go. It starts to get a little bit stiff here at 120. But here's the cool thing, because we've practiced playing it loudly up to this point, we're not down here and we're not going. Instead, we're really loud, which gives us this headroom in the stick motion that allows us to switch from wrist reinforcement to finger reinforcement. So we have been going arm, wrist, basically, but now we can transition from, instead of using wrist so much for that second note, which is causing us to start tensing up, instead, we can use fingers. And so now we're tossing the stick down, a little bit of arm, but mostly wrist, and then we're using the fingers to reinforce the second note. So that it looks like this. It's kind of that open, close, push, pull that a lot of drummers like to call it. Same thing where we're throwing the stick down, natural rebound is happening. Remember, the rebound is always happening, but we're reinforcing that rebound and strengthening it so that the two notes are much closer in volume so that we can hear all the notes so that that bounce doesn't get lost. And so we're just using the fingers to then bring the stick back down more quickly and loudly. Remember, because we have this bounce, this stick height, that gives us all this room to work with to bring the fingers in to strengthen that note. If we were way down here, it doesn't work. And if you've tried to use your fingers playing really softly like that with doubles, it just doesn't work. Even if you're doing finger singles, you have to have a little bit of stick height. And so the more stick height you have, the more room for these fingers to work when you're actually doing doubles. Now, it doesn't have to be a massive stick height because fingers don't work when you're doing a huge stick height. Really, we're talking a sweet spot of probably, you know, not a full upright, but also not halfway. It's not really a 45 degree, but a little bit beyond that. Probably about right here. I don't know, you know, we're coming up close to upright, but not quite. And as we get faster, yes, we do have to decrease the stick height because it becomes impossible to go. It gets a little crazy. So we're allowed to go. Starts to sound like a helicopter, and fingers are hard at work, and we're lowering our stick height just a little bit so we can do it, just because it's humanly and physically impossible to be super loud, like super high stick height and fast. We're having to get a lot of that power down here in closer range, and that's okay. So that is the big zoomed out bird's eye view of how the doubles need to work. Now, you have to spend as much time as you need to doing the slow work there. They're going really slow, working on the rebound and getting, and then teaching your fingers how to operate. And then pulling it all together. Going a little faster. Beginning to bring in some wrists. Beginning to bring in some fingers. And so on. Now, this is the first half of the puzzle, really. I know I keep talking about puzzles and missing pieces. Okay, that big missing piece initially was the stick height. We have to have the stick height to then use the fingers. But what's the logical next thing here? The question, you know, you could either be in one of two places here. You might be like, all right, I got my fingers down. I can sit here and go. I've had students who can blaze the finger singles faster than I can and for longer than I can. That's awesome. Great. It's cool to be able to do that. And so now you're able to begin applying that to your doubles because you're adding the stick height. But if you're like, Steven, I'm a beginner. I have no idea. Like, I haven't used my fingers before. How does all this work? Then obviously you've got to also work on your finger strengthening. So some additional tips for this to help you out with this, because if you are a total beginner, then everything we just covered is only so helpful if you haven't done some finger strengthening and finger training. Well, super basically, practice doing the French grip exercise, which is just putting your stick right here on a fulcrum here on your index finger, and practice twisting it back and forth. Actually, you can do this just with index and thumb, slowly twisting it back and forth, and then bring in the other fingers and just see how long you can keep this going. Gradually get a little faster. You can also start throwing towels and things on your drum or on your pad to give your fingers a little bit more of a workout. You can go soft and practice faster bursts. You can do that kind of stuff, but ultimately you want to build the endurance, and so the higher stick height, slower practice is actually more productive in the long run. Then once you get the hang of that, now we're talking a span of several weeks, maybe even a few months. This stuff takes time. It's not just going to happen today. I'll be straight with you. I spent a whole summer really working on this a lot when I was in college, and I saw a lot of growth over like a 2, 3, 4 month period, so just stick with it. But then once you've got a handle on this, start doing individual fingers and doing just, pinky and ring out of the picture, just doing the twisting motion with middle finger helping out. It's a good bit harder. You realize how valuable your ring and pinky actually are to you. Then leave the middle finger out, just do ring finger. It might feel weird, but go as slow as you need to keep it steady. See if you can do this for a whole minute. Then do pinky. Pinky's a little weird. The goal is to train each finger to be able to do its job, so then when you bring them all back together, it's like, wow, this is this much easier. Take the towel out, and then on a bouncy practice pad, it's that much easier as well. Do that with both hands, and be patient with it, and then go really slowly, one hand at a time, teaching your fingers what to do as you're playing the double. So going back to that step from a minute ago, where we want to practice going stick down and the fingers catching it. Once your fingers have learned to operate, now you can actually bring them into this. So go back and repeat those first few steps of teaching the fingers to come in and gradually get back into the full doubles of going. And I think you'll probably find it easiest to practice doing the wrists, so doing the wrist doubles of, and then transitioning from the wrist doubles into using fingers instead of wrists. I think that's the easiest way to do this, and it makes the most sense. Right now we're just wrists. And so to make that transition, just extend your fingers a little bit. Instead of being as tight on the sticks, loosen up your fingers, think more relaxed, letting the fingers out, that way they can then come in. Remember, the fingers have to go out in order to come in. And so in a way, kind of a step toward getting there is just opening up your hand to be this really open kind of grip, because once it's open, then you can close it. If you're going to do the open-close finger work, it has to open, right? You can't stay stiff and tight, otherwise there's no way to actually make your fingers useful. And so practice going from a firmer wrist kind of grip, the kind of grip we might use if we're playing loud and fast singles around the drum set. Practice going from that to, okay, opening up now and extending the fingers out a little bit. So that now they can actually start coming in. Bum, 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 bum. Just like that. Go slow with it, be patient with it. I promise you, you will get the hang of it. It might take you 2 months, 3 months, 4 months of just the consistent practice, or it might be quicker than that. It might click tomorrow. Who knows? We're all at different places with this. I don't know what kind of prerequisite skill you're coming into this doing, but stay patient with it. As you practice this and as you master these things, there are some cool benefits that you're going to start seeing in your playing. For one thing, you're going to have loud, strong doubles that actually grow your technique and apply musically to the drums. You'll build strong wrists and fingers that actually allow you to play quicker timekeeping patterns. And you'll have the ability to use more versatile stickings around the kit, which is really cool. Plus, you'll be able to ghost better. And so here's some of the things that happened to me. As I was improving my doubles, suddenly my swing timekeeping got way better. And any of that kind of ghosting over here on the snare also got a lot better. Also, the types of grooves, kind of like this. Doing any of those quicker patterns or Latin kinds of patterns. Those sorts of things get easier. Any kind of ghosting. And then you have that wrist strength and that power to be able to go and stick your fills differently if you want to. And you're not as stuck just playing singles. You're able to vary from that, which is pretty cool. And then you'll be able to do more fast, like doubles-based sticking patterns too, which can be pretty cool. Whether it's like that kind of thing or where it's sort of paradiddle based, you're able to start incorporating doubles in unique, interesting ways like that, and you have more of that wrist power to even go. Which totally plays into using paradiddles on the drum set as well, which is a really cool where you can go next with this. And so have a lot of fun with this. Have fun applying your skills to the drum set as you learn this stuff, as you get better at it. But hey, question for you. Have you found that your doubles trouble is happening right at 120? Or is it at a different tempo? Everybody's a little different, but 120 seems to be that barrier for so many folks. Maybe your barrier is actually slower because you hadn't learned to really use the wrist and do that cheat like I shared with you. But tell us in the comments, where is your trouble tempo with doubles? And we'll help each other out and work on improving our doubles so we can be more versatile and musical drummers with more creative options at our disposal. So hey, I hope you've had fun today. This has been a fun lesson. It's been a while since we talked about doubles, and so hopefully this helps get you on track and get you past the speed barrier and really open you up to playing stuff that you hadn't thought possible before. So stick with it, stay patient, know that you can do this, stay non-glamorous, and hey, grab that PDF e-guide below, especially if you're constrained to pad practice. 3 daily pad exercises for fast, fluid hands. That's going to help you out a bunch. All right, hope you have a great day and a great week. I'll see you on the next lesson.